Hello! Welcome to a guide on how to make simple fringe blankets for Project Linus. Today I will show you how to find the correct measurements for the yard amount, cut off the selvedges, split the fleece, make fringes, and sew the Project Linus label on the blanket. Before you begin making a blanket, you'll need to buy fleece. You can get the fabric from stores like Michael's or Joann. If you are making these blankets in bulk, I would recommend getting patterns in 5 or 6 yard increments. Here is a guide on how many blankets you can make with the yard amount. 1 yard will make 1 small blanket, and you will have to trim the width to make a square. 2 yards can either make 2 small blankets or 1 large blanket. Again, you will have to trim the width if you are making small blankets. 3 yards will make 1 medium and 1 large, and 4 yards can make 2 mediums and 1 large. 5 to 10 yards will make 1 medium blanket less than the yard amount. For example, if I had 7 yards, then I would be able to make 6 medium blankets. It is also a good idea to invest in a rotary cutter set rather than using scissors. The rotary blade is much easier to use and more efficient. The blade will also create cleaner lines. Here is what you'll need in this video: fleece, a rotary cutter set, which includes a rotary blade cutting mat and ruler, a measuring tape, a 3" by 3" guide, a 1" by 3" guide, Project Linus labels, a sewing machine, and a large working space. Once you have your fleece, you will want to measure the lengths. It's easier to fold the fleece in half and then multiply the measurement by 2 to get the total length. Sometimes the stores will give you extra or less fabric, which will affect the eventual size of your blanket. After you measure the fleece, you can calculate how many blankets you'll be making and how many inches each individual blanket will be. This blanket measurement chart is approximately how long and wide each blanket should be. These numbers are the widths the fleece comes with, so you don't need to worry about those. This is the blanket width that comes from the store. These numbers are the ones you'll need to measure when it's time to split the fleece. A small blanket can be any size between a 36" by 36" square to a 40" by a 40" square. A medium blanket length can range from 40 to 45 inches, and a large blanket length can range from 65 to 72 inches. I have 4 yards of fleece, but the store gave me an extra inch or so. Since that's 145 total inches, 2 medium blankets will be about 40 inches, and 1 large blanket will be 65 inches. Now we can start cutting the selvedges off the fleece. The selvedges are the part of the fleece where there is a perforated line or the fabric is uneven. It can also be where there is a white edging or the side is curled. Align the ruler next to the perforated lines or where the white part ends and cut. Continue doing this until you get to the end of the fleece. Once you finish doing this, flip to the other side and do the same thing. After both lengths are finished, trim the width so they are also straight. When all sides of the fleece are straight, it's a good idea to measure the fleece again. If the length has changed a lot, you'll need to modify how long each individual blanket will be. The length of my fleece only changed about 1 inch, so the blanket sizing doesn't need to be adjusted. Next, we will split the fleece into the blanket size. Begin by measuring the blanket size with the measuring tape and aligning the ruler. I like to align the ruler twice from the top and bottom. You can cut through the fleece when the ruler is positioned. Continue doing this until you reach the end. Once you complete one split, repeat this process for the other blankets. Now that the fleece is correctly sized and split, we can begin making fringes. First, cut a 3" by 3" square out of each corner of the blanket. I made a 3D printed design to help me with this, but you can also use cardboard. Next, make 1 inch by 3 inch cuts for the fringes. Since the fringes must be an exact size, I made another guide. Like the square, you can also make your own cardboard cutout. Or, if you feel comfortable enough with the rotary cutter, you can use the measurements on the mat. The fringes are cut right next to each other. I like to cut a row of fringes and then check to make sure each fringe is the right size. When you get close to the end of the side, line up the fleece with the lines on the mat to see if you'll need to modify the fringe. In this picture, the fleece is a bit longer than this line, so each upcoming fringe will need to have a little longer width. In this picture, the fleece is a bit shorter than this line, so each upcoming fringe will need to have a little shorter width. The goal is to have your fringe be as even as possible and have it line up. The final step for a blanket is to sew the Project Linus label on. Project Linus labels are at the monthly meetings. You can either use a sewing machine or hand sew it on, but for this video I'll be using a sewing machine. Place the Linus label in a corner. If there is an obvious back to the fleece, then put the label on the back. Use white thread and begin sewing. It is preferred to use a zigzag stitch. For each corner, backstitch and turn to the new side. Repeat until you have sewn all of the sides into the blanket. Cut the excess thread when finished. Do this for each fringe blanket. This is roughly what your labels should look like once you've sewn them onto the blankets. All corners should be sewn in and the label should lie flat. Congratulations! You have completed blankets for Project Linus. You can deliver your finished products at the monthly meeting in your area or in the drop-off locations. To get this information, go to the Project Linus website. Thank you for watching, and I hope you had fun.